Bahamians everywhere, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It has just been over 4 weeks since I announced a number of measures aimed at reducing the transmission of COVID-19 in the country, and particularly on New Providence and Abaco. At the Ministry of Health's press conference this last Friday, health officials provided an update on the progress we have made. Between the 10th of October and the 5th of November, new COVID cases decreased by 50%. In the last 7 days, new COVID cases decreased by 8%. The national average of the number of new cases each week continues to fall. Hospitalization have decreased by 68% from mid-October to now. The data suggests that transmission is decreasing. The most recent data put our national positivity rate at 16%, which is a 44.8% reduction from the week just before the measures were put in place. These rates have continuously decreased, and just yesterday, the rate of positivity was 5.7%. We have seen good progress on both New Providence and Abaco. Because we have made progress together, I am pleased to announce the following new revised measures for New Providence and Abaco, effective tomorrow, Monday, the 9th of November. The weekend 24-hour curfew is lifted. The curfew on Saturdays and Sunday will now be from 6 p.m. to 5 a.m. The weekday curfew will move from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. And this 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. curfew will also apply to Grand Bahama on weekdays and at the weekends. The retail sector, including pharmacies, may resume in-store services Monday to Saturday, following the protocols prepared by the Bahamas Federation of Retailers and certified by the Ministry of Health. On Saturdays, food stores may be opened to the public. On Sundays, food stores may carry out restocking. Outdoor dining may resume at restaurants and at fish fries Monday to Saturday. On Sunday, only drive-through and takeaway services will be permitted. At hotels, indoor dining may also resume. Beaches and parks will now be open on Saturdays and Sundays from 5 a.m. to 6 p.m. Please, remember that groups are limited to 5 people and that beaches and parks will be closely monitored by the COVID-19 Enforcement Unit. We continue to consult with health officials to determine the appropriate time for the safe reopening of gyms, spas, and other elements of our economy. Health officials will continue to closely monitor COVID-19 developments on New Providence and Abaco and continue to assess the health data. I heartily thank all of those who continue to follow the health measures because of your patience, your fortitude, and your discipline, we are making progress. I know that many of these measures have been difficult on many families and businesses. But let me assure you that what we are doing in the short term will help families, businesses, and the ongoing reopening of our economy in the medium and long term. I would like to acknowledge the Family Islands and currently have no active cases of COVID-19. These islands include Auckland, Crooked Island, Cat Island, Inagua, Meguana, Long Key, Long Island, San Salvador, Rum Key, and Ragged Island. I wish to now speak directly to the people of Eleuthera. A Ministry of Health medical team traveled to Eleuthera just last week to assess the COVID-19 situation on that island. As of Saturday, the 7th of November, a total of 117 confirmed cases of COVID-19 have been recorded on that island. All districts in Eleuthera have recorded cases of COVID-19. South Eleuthera has the greatest proportion of cases with 37.8%, followed by North Eleuthera with 29.7%, and then Central Eleuthera with 24.4%. Health officials have reported that a number of COVID-19 cases have been linked to bars. Additionally, the current increase in cases in Eleuthera has been linked to a funeral just 2 weeks ago. Health officials also reported that there appears to be minimum to no adherence to public health measures to prevent the spread of COVID-19. To put it differently, Eleuthera residents, according to our health officials, are not compliant with the protocol put in place for eradicating or decreasing this COVID-19 pandemic. I am advised that some concerned residents of Eleuthera have called for more restrictive measures to be put in place to arrest the spread of this COVID-19 pandemic. After its visit to and assessment of mainland Eleuthera, health officials have made a number of recommendations geared towards slowing and controlling the transmission of the virus on that island. The new measures apply to mainland Eleuthera and are effective tomorrow, Monday, 9th of November, 2020. To be clear, the new measures do not apply to Spanish Wells or Harbor Island. A 24-hour weekend curfew will be implemented starting 6 p.m. on Fridays and ending 5 a.m. on Mondays. During the 24-hour weekend curfew, businesses will not be permitted to operate, including grocery stores, restaurants, and pharmacies. A new updated emergency order will provide further details as it relates to specific provisions during the 24-hour weekend curfew. During the week from Monday to Friday, a daily curfew will be in effect from 6 p.m. to 5 a.m. However, commercial businesses will operate during the non-curfew hours. The health team has recommended the closure of all bars. As a result of this recommendation, all bars and restaurants connected to bars are to be closed. Residents should not operate bars from their residencies. All private and public social gatherings are prohibited. Indoor church services are not permitted. In-person classroom instruction of students is also prohibited. Both may occur by virtual means only. Funerals are to be a maximum of 10 people at the graveside, excluding the officiants and caretakers. Weddings are to be a maximum of 10 people, excluding the officiants. Receptions and repasts are both prohibited. Health officials will continue to closely monitor the COVID-19 situation on Eleuthera. I wish to remind Bahamians on every island that the COVID-19 virus is easy to catch and can spread quickly and get out of control when we or you let your guard down. When we stop wearing our mask or have certain social events and gatherings, or do not maintain physical distancing, the virus will take advantage of this situation. To reduce the spread of this virus on Eleuthera, I ask everyone on that island to please return to the measures that worked for you in the past so that Eleuthera can reopen various areas as safely and as quickly as possible. The Royal Bahamas Defense Force is on alert and in place to ensure that vessels do not flee Eleuthera in violation of this order. Additional police resources have been deployed to ensure enforcement of measures put in place to protect the residents in Eleuthera. I wish to say to all Bahamians and residents, as we continue to reopen our economy in phases, we anticipate that the number of cases will increase. But we can still slow and control the transmission of COVID-19 if we consistently practice the health measures recommended by the health professionals that are already known to us and are effective. Please, continue to wear your mask, wash your hands thoroughly and often, and maintain a distance of at least 6 feet from each other. This pandemic is not over, and restrictions alone will not work. We each must take personal responsibility and follow the preventative health measures to slow and stop the spread of COVID-19. My fellow Bahamians and residents, even as we are continuing to encourage various health measures, we know that enforcement of various measures are also essential. And since the establishment of the COVID-19 Command Center in August, more than 2,888 calls have been made and received. As part of our COVID-19 response, the COVID-19 Enforcement Unit has dispatched personnel to follow up on reports of mass social gatherings and incidents on isolated beaches. 8 out of 10 calls made to the COVID-19 Enforcement Unit hotline were reports related to various business establishments of individuals not wearing masks or social distancing. I once again ask all business establishments to ensure that your employees and customers are abiding by the health measures put in place. If we work together to do this, we will be able to keep various areas of our economy open. It is all of our best interests to follow the health measures. It is better for business and it is better for our country at large. I encourage Bahamians and residents to continue to use the COVID-19 hotline at 702-9967-9 or 702-9970-2. To date, statistics reflects that 67% of citations issued by the COVID-19 Enforcement Unit referred to the failure to wear masks away from a residence, and 27% referred to breach of curfew. This excludes the COVID-19 Enforcement Unit's immediate shutdown of social gatherings and business establishments found in breach of the COVID-19 Emergency Powers Order. The number of calls to the unit has been steadily increasing in recent weeks for 24-hour curfew breaches. My Bahamian brothers and sisters, while we continue our fight against the COVID-19 pandemic, the government is making good on our $55 million commitment this fiscal year of 2020 to 2021 to support Bahamian entrepreneurs and small businesses. Through the Access Accelerator Small Business Development Center, or SBDC, a new small business grant program has been launched to provide grants of up to $5,000 to Bahamian entrepreneurs to start a business or to expand their own small business. These grants are funds that these entrepreneurs get to fund a specific business need that they have. These funds do not, and I repeat, these funds do not have to be repaid. To date, the Small Business Development Center, SBDC, has received over 400 applicants toward the $500,000 that has been budgeted for the program. The response has been so positive that the SBDC has shifted its budget to add an additional $500,000 to this program to bring the total allocation to $1 million. Through this program, individual entrepreneurs and micro businesses will get equipment, supplies, and materials to allow them to start a business or to give their enterprise a much-needed boost. I am pleased to say that shortly the SBDC will launch its youth program that will provide grants, loans, training, and business support for young Bahamians ages 18 through 30. the government and the SBDC recognizes that our young people have incredible determination and drive. Many of them have a strong desire to work for themselves. And my government wants to nurture their sense of entrepreneurship and their sense of ownership. The experience of the SBDC is that young applicants also require substantial training and business support to turn their dreams and ideas into viable and sustainable businesses. Accordingly, the SBDC had budgeted the sum of $1.5 million in its new youth program that will provide grants, loans, training, and business support for young entrepreneurs getting into their first business or expanding their existing businesses. They will be active participants in an extended program over several months to ensure that the young Bahamians in the program get the funds that they readily need. We also help them to obtain the skills, supports, and sustainability measures that will help them to remain as successful entrepreneurs over their lifetimes. In our 3+ years in office, my government has provided unprecedented levels of support for Bahamian entrepreneurs. Since coming to office, we have, through the SBDC to date, provided some $52.7 million in loans and grants to over 950 Bahamian micro and small businesses. This includes over $40 million in direct support for those that are being impacted by Hurricane Dorian and COVID-19 pandemic. Never before in the history of our country have Bahamian entrepreneurs obtained this kind of direct small business support. And we will be doing even more to create opportunities for Bahamian entrepreneurs. You may recall that based on the recommendations of the Economic Recovery Committee, I recently committed this government to $50 million per year in support for businesses over the next 5 years, for a total of $250 million in support for Bahamian entrepreneurship. I wish to add today, we will continue to set aside sums for specific segments of our population to ensure that marginalized and underrepresented groups in our Bahamas get specific attention. Accordingly, of the $250 million 5-year commitment, my government will set aside a minimum of $25 million specifically for entrepreneurship programs geared towards Bahamian youth and Bahamian women. I wish to be clear, while there will be funds directly targeted for certain segments, including young people, all Bahamians are eligible to seek these grants. My fellow Bahamians and residents, as I have mentioned to you before, during the pandemic, we will go through cycles of tightening and loosening restrictions. When case numbers go up, we have to tighten the rules to save lives. When those numbers go down, we loosen restrictions so Bahamians may get back to work and resume normal lives. The measures we put in place to combat the second wave have worked. Some criticized us for acting aggressively, but we knew we had to intervene to slow the spread of the virus and save Bahamian lives. We do not like putting in place restrictions. However, our main priorities are the health and safety of the Bahamian people. We are not afraid of making the tough decisions to protect you. I thank members of the public health team for their sound advice. I thank you, the Bahamian people, for complying with the rules. As we emerge out of the second wave, let us cautiously be optimistic and let us continue to be careful. We are opening up, but if we stop following the public health advice, virus cases will increase again, and we may end up back under restrictions. There are several things we must continue to do. Wear your mask properly over your mouth and nose. Wash or sanitize your hands regularly. When out, remain physically distant from others. If we stay disciplined and keep the viral numbers down, we could have a Christmas season of more openness and togetherness. In North America and Europe, the virus rages at a record pace. They face a bad and terrible winter. Lockdowns have been put in place across Europe. We must be mindful that even though our situation has improved, the pandemic is not over. It will continue into the next year. Throughout this pandemic, through the good and the challenging times, I have followed the advice of our healthcare professionals and consulted widely in the community. We will continue to maintain an active dialogue with business leaders, pastors, and members of civic organizations of all types. We are one team, one Bahamas in our fight against this COVID pandemic. All Bahamians of goodwill are pulling for the Bahamas to be successful. All Bahamians of goodwill are hoping the numbers continue to go down and stay down. The fight against this virus is not a partisan fight. The coronavirus may infect any of us, no matter our political affiliation or no matter our wealth. Let us continue to pray for the success of our Bahamas. Let us continue to pray for the recovery of our brothers and sisters who are sick or are having difficult times with lingering symptoms. I urge all Bahamians to kindly visit our clinics and medical facilities and obtain the flu shot. Just before coming here to give this national address, a businessman stopped me and asked the question, why were we so firm and hard on the business sector with respect to locking down? I responded to him that we found ourselves in a situation where the viral number continued to increase. As that increased, our hospitals became compromised. Our bed spaces became minimal. Our death rate continued to rise. Our medical personnel, both doctors, nurses, and others, were being burnt out. Many themselves were becoming infected and subsequently quarantined. We were faced with a situation where, as our numbers rose, members within the community and workforce likewise became infected, and they entered the workplaces, subsequently infecting personnel within those various establishments. And many workplaces subsequently had to close, sanitize, and reopen. We were placed in a situation where either we allowed the viruses and the infection to continue to rise, destroying our reputation internationally and being known or recognized as a COVID hotspot, subsequently destroying our international economy and likewise destroying our domestic economy. The decision was simple. Either our businesses were forced to close as a result of the virus infection, or we make a determined decision to control the closure, thus allowing us to control and bring our viral numbers down, saving our hospitals, saving our Bahamians, saving our populace, decreasing the death rate, and saving our healthcare workers. We decided we would prefer to control the closure of our businesses as opposed to allow the virus to force closure. And just as we control the closure, we must now control the opening. In conclusion, I would like to provide a brief update on Tropical Storm Eta, which continues to impact parts of the Northwest Bahamas. Yesterday, the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, partially activated its Emergency Operations Center to closely monitor the track of Tropical Storm Eta. Over the past 48 hours, the director of NEMA, Captain Stephen Russell, has been in constant contact with Family Island administrators in New Providence and throughout the Bahamas to ensure that their communities are prepared for the storm. NEMA designated shelters on the islands of Grand Bahama, Abaco, Bimini, the Berry Islands, Andros, New Providence, and Eleuthera were opened as of 8 a.m. today. Preliminary reports from the affected islands are flooding, rendering roads impassable in some areas, high winds, gusty conditions, seawalls, and some fallen trees. The glass window bridge in Eleuthera has been closed due to sea surge. So far, there have been no reports of injuries or incidents as a result of the weather. The Bahamas Department of Meteorology has issued warnings and alerts for the Bahamas, warning residents of dangerous swells and localized flooding. I urge residents in the entire Bahamas to continue to closely monitor alerts issued by the Bahamas Department of Meteorology. NEMA will remain activated to continue to monitor Tropical Storm Eta and will continue to provide regular updates. Let us pray for the families of those who have died and those who are recovering. And let us ask the Almighty God for his eternal blessings on our Bahamas. I thank you very much, and good afternoon.